Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, joined by Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Hope everybody out there is having a great start to their Thursday. We've got TD in studio for the next 2 hours talking all things Titans. And TD, we got a lot to get to. It has been a busy week for the Tennessee Titans, and maybe not in the good way, but it has been a busy week over there at St. Thomas Sports Park.
Yeah, it's definitely been busy as could be. You look at the trade of Jarvis Brownley Jr., ceding play calling duties to Bo Hardigree. There's so much, and there's layers to that Bo Hardigree situation. Layers to Jarvis Brownley Jr.
Right.
too, also. And it's crazy because what's lost in all this is something that John Fossil said that we could get into whenever you want to insert it. But I thought it was really interesting getting his feedback about the process and what happened on that with the K-ball and all that stuff last Sunday.
I actually didn't see this. So if we want to start with this right now, what exactly happened with all of that? Because I know there was a lot of confusion where the CBS broadcast is talking about the kicker ball getting in there and it didn't get in time. Brian Callahan kind of glossed over that in his post-game press conference. What did Bones have to say?
So I asked him from his perspective what happened, and he admitted, like, there were two timeouts. They were mulling back and forth whether or not to go for it or kick it. And when they finally made the decision, Joey Sly, Johnny Hecker, Morgan Cox, they were out there, and Hecker and Cox, being the veterans that they were, they saw that the K-ball wasn't there, and they're like, yo, hold up a second. And the difference with the K-ball is it's a little more inflated. It's harder.
Right.
It's not as broken in. That's one thing, quarterbacks, they want that football broken in and it's softened. And, it's a different ball than what's kicked, right? And so Hecker and Cox, they wanted that kickball in there, and a K-ball rather. And as the time ticked down, rather than go ahead and kick with the game ball, they said, we're just going to take the delay of game, right? So the delay of game, ultimately, it is on Brian Callahan. Don't get it messed up. Ultimately, end of the day.
Right. The decision should have been made way in advance.
Right. But once he made it, they collectively made the decision in time for it to be right. But at that point, the K-ball wasn't relayed into the game. So it's a problem that was caused by indecisiveness. But I think that gives you a little more clarity because they, again, were willing to take the delay of game. They, meaning Hecker and Cox, were willing to take the delay of game rather than kick with the standard football.
It is funny that just kind of did get lost in the shuffle because Brian Callahan, right before John Fossil spoke, was announcing he's giving up play calling. And then like an hour after John Fossil spoke, the Titans trade Jarvis Brownley. Yeah. So it's like no one's really paying much attention.
It was sandwiched in between two much bigger issues, without a doubt. But if anybody could get I have a video on my X of that explanation, but there was even more. I cut the video off. Hopefully, Paul Kaharski or A to Z or Nick Suss or Wyatt or Glenn or somebody. Hopefully somebody got it and it's out there. But I was just sitting there just really amazed at the detail that because he went into the detail about. Now I already knew like the difference between the K ball and the standard ball because I watched quarterbacks what they do in college to break the football in. Like they take the brush and it's almost like a baseball player,
like a pitcher,
how you break in the glove, you know what I mean? There's a whole process that goes through, and Coach Fossil went in and he explained a lot of that. So it was a really good presser. He's awesome to talk to. Also, by the way, I don't know if you gotten to see his pressers at all, but man, because I know they don't post them too much. So.
It's not quite as out there as Brian Callahan is, but from what I've seen from him, it seems like he's a great guy to actually get an explanation from that you can handle and you can grasp. And it's good to know that because, yes, of course, Brian Callahan, obviously the buck stops with him when it comes to you had two timeouts. You should have had a decision in way before you send your guys out onto the field, and it's like, all right, well, now the K-ball's not out there, but at least it's good to know, like, all right, that's why they took the delay game, because Hecker and them were like, we're not snapping this ball.
My thing is still, and I tried to ask the question, but Terry McCormick got a question in. I was trying to ask, well, why not call a timeout at that point? Because you still had another one. But hindsight is always 20/20. It's easy for me to sit here in this chair and not be down there with all that stuff going on and say that. But I would have thought that a timeout could have been called, and then that would have allowed you to get the K ball in and still kick the 57-yard instead of the 62.
Well, you're not allowed to call back-to-back timeouts, right?
Yes.
So
bingo. There it is. Right,
I guess there was no other, like, Brian Callahan probably was sitting over there feeling pretty helpless, because it's like, I sent these guys out. They don't have the ball. I can't do anything to stop this.
Look at me not knowing the rules. I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't pop up very often. I remember, I think it was Joe Gibbs back when he was coaching Washington. This was like 15 years ago.
That's way back.
Late in the game, he tried to call 2 timeouts in a row and got the penalty, and I think it might have ended up costing them the game. Yeah. And I think, did they change that, Parker, in college? Because I know you used to be able to call back-to-back timeouts in college. I think they've changed it to now you can only call the one.
Yeah, they changed it at the beginning of before last year.
When they added the 2-minute timeout and all that kind of stuff.
They banned the consecutive timeouts.
Right. So, but that must have been a tough feeling for Brian Callahan on the sideline, because it's just like, you're going to get eviscerated for this.
Yes.
Even though there's just, in that moment, there was nothing he could do. Yes, it was his fault. He should have had it. We've said it all week. You make a decision on 4th down before you run the play on 3rd down, right? Like, that's usually what it is. Like, hey, it's 3rd and 2. What are we setting up here? Are we going to try and set something up so we have 2 shots at it? Or are we just going to run this and set up the field goal? You have to have that decision ready before you even run that 3rd down and 2.
Yeah. I don't like the message that not going for it on 4th and 1 sends. I don't like that message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I asked Brian Callahan after the game about that. Because to me, it's like, if I can't if I can't call a timeout, have you guys come over here and look in your face and say, shoe to shoe, we're going to run the ball. I need a yard. Get it for me. If I can't look at you like confidently and say that, mercy.
It's very confusing, though, because he ran the ball 5 straight times. It's like, you ran the ball 5 straight times. You're playing for the field goal at that point, right? Like, if you're not throwing the ball at all, you're not trying to go score a touchdown. So shouldn't the decision have been easy? Hey, I ran the ball 5 times. We're in field goal range. Send the field goal unit out.
Yeah, it's tough.
It feels like he's getting caught in between being aggressive and being conservative, and maybe that goes back to what happened in Denver.
That's a great
point. In week 1, because I think the reaction and the blowback after being aggressive on his own 7, I think has maybe led him to be more conservative, and he's getting caught in between in these different situations at the end of the half.
I would venture to say at the 7, it's over. But either way, it's got to get better. So now you got Bo Hardigree calling the plays,
right?
I don't think there's going to be a total change like in philosophy and everything like that, but I think there is going to be somewhat of a shift because you have a different voice in there calling the plays. I'm just curious how the process is going to go, who's communicating with who before that play is actually relayed into Ward's ear.
Right. And now Brian Callahan hopefully has less on his plate and can focus more on making those big picture decisions that he struggled with early on this year. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And as always, at 10 a.m., make sure you get your questions in for TD. We'll give you your chance to talk to TD. Again, that coming up at the top of the hour. Alex on our text line says, per former Titans punter Brett Kern, not having a kicker ball takes 10 or more yards off the field goal. So that would be that.
And you're already doing a 57
If you're kicking from 57, you probably can't kick the regular ball and expect it to go anywhere. So
although Joey Sly, the guy who could probably squat this building,
that is true.
He feels he could kick a 70-yarder. Oh, and just real quick, we did a 2-minute drill for WKRN.
Yeah.
Make sure you watch Titans Extra on Saturday, 10:30. Just
Love
a
it.
Shameless plug right there. But I do a 2-minute drill with a player each week, and this week is Joey Sly.
Love
Some
it.
pretty dope stuff from him, man.
Hey, he's my Hokie. He was the kicker, I believe, just before I got to Virginia Tech. Maybe he was there my freshman year. But
yeah, that's right. And I wanted to ask him what it feels like to run out there, like because that's got to be like my hair, a little bit. My beard is sticking out this way. I can't say my hair is raising on my head because I don't have any, but just thinking about envision. I've never even been in that atmosphere, but watching it on TV.
I mean, I get chills being in the stands. I can only imagine being down on the field for it. So yeah, no, Joey Sly, he is the resident Hokie on the Titans. I had Caleb Farley for a little bit, but at least we replaced him with Joey Sly. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Coming up next, the big news this week. Well, two big things. We're going to get to both of them this first hour. We'll start with Jarvis Brownley being traded. The Titans trading away one of their starting cornerbacks for a late-round pick swap. Why? What did Brian Callahan have to say? We'll get to that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, off and running here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. It was a nice quick answer from Brian Callahan. I thought it was a good question from you, TD.
Yeah.
What are those short-term and long-term benefits to trading Jarvis Brownley? Didn't really get much out of it.
This song right here, like, it's a very peaceful song. It's one that, like, promotes good feelings and energy. This right here is what every Titans fan needs to listen to every day until this team gets a win.
Yeah, we need this around here. Maybe Titans fans cue this one up for 3 o'clock on Sunday.
It's Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Wake up, everybody. Harold Melvin featuring Teddy Pendergrass.
I love it.
Philly's finest.
Titans fans, throw that on the playlist. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. So yesterday, Brian Callahan, and we can start with this. The Titans traded Jarvis Brownley, which that is a front office decision. That is a Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi decision. But for some reason, they put Brian Callahan out there to answer for it. And Brian Callahan, again, super nice guy, but when he gets in these situations, he seems to tie himself in knots. And the questioning, I mean, he went out there clearly with the plan to say that there were short-term and long-term benefits, and this helps us with our short-term and long-term goals trading Jarvis Brownley. And then somehow he got into trading Jarvis Brownley had nothing to do with Jarvis as a player. It's like, all right, well, it has something to do with Jarvis Brownley Jr. I really wish Mike Borgonzi at least would have gone out there for 2 or 3 minutes, make a statement, answer a question or two, and then hand it off to Brian Callahan.
Yeah. You know what? Let me offer some context on this, though. And it literally just hit me what he may, and I'm not I'm not trying to speak for him. I'm just offering my perspective on what it could be.
Yeah.
It may not be about Brownlee as a player. And think about what he's saying. His ability as a player.
Yeah.
Right? It could be that situation that he's talking about where it's like, hey, the guy's a baller.
Right.
But
there was something else going on.
He may not be a baller enough to offset whatever the issues are.
Right.
Right. And, to sum it up, what I've gotten from multiple sources is a change of scenery was just needed for both parties.
Yep.
Right. And sometimes hey, T.O. was a really good player. Now, Grant, look, I'm not saying Jarvis Brownley is T.O. So
fit him for the gold jacket.
Don't call me and tweet me and all that. What I'm saying is T.O. was a really good player, right? And people wanted to have his ability on the field. But you notice he stopped getting opportunities when the ability on the field didn't offset whatever other stuff people felt that he brought. I think that may be the same type of situation here. And again, just basing it off of, there's more to the story that I got on background, but I could just sum it up and just say a change of scenery was needed for both.
Which happens, and it was surprising to see the return be that low. And Corey Curtis yesterday was saying how he thinks, and I kind of agree, that Jarvis was probably going to get released if they didn't trade him. When you get that little of a return, it's basically just calling teams around and saying, hey, this guy's going to hit waivers. If you want to make sure he goes to you, give us a 6. We'll give you a 7th, and you can have it.
Mm-hmm. But you know what adds even another element to this is, like, obviously James Williams and Jarvis Brownley, like, they're best friends. So James Williams is going to speak glowingly of his guy. But asking other people who, like Darryl Baker Jr., like, that's not Brownlee's best friend. They're in the same DB room.
Right.
That's not his best friend. I'm not saying they're enemies, but DB was, he spoke glowingly of it. He was like, man, you love to be around this guy. He's funny. He cracked jokes. It's very clear he loves what he does. And so I'm like, okay, let me, because I got some other stuff. So I'm like, did you guys feed? Like, how did you guys feed off of his energy? And he was like, man, we really fed off of it. It charged us up. He's always amping. He's hyping. So it's like, okay, I wonder where the disconnect is. And maybe it was and you saw his quotes in Denver, right? When, we're asking him, hey, my man, like, any thoughts about changing some things?
Nope.
No, I'm not changing anything.
Yeah.
So that could lead to, hey, is he taking coaching or not taking coaching? I don't know. And then you got Denard Wilson, saying, hey, when you allow it to happen, I was raised when you don't allow it to happen. I forget what the exact quote was, but along those lines.
Well, and there's been red flags, like the Washington game last year when he said it was too cold. And it's not that that's something that makes you want to trade him away, but it's like, that is a red flag of being like, hey, you guys went down 28-0 like that. Like, what happened? It's like, it was cold out there today.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think this team is in any position to be trading away good players. And that seems like what you did is you traded away a guy who was a competent starter for you, who was cheap, and you had him controlled for at least 2 more seasons. But you also have to look at the flip side of the coin of, you're not just building a roster, you're building a culture. And if there are guys who you feel like are going to hurt that mission of trying to build a winning culture around here, then you do have to get him out. It happened abruptly, though, which I think is what surprised a lot of people. Is like, It's not like this is something that's been boiling over. Brian Callahan said yesterday he doesn't believe Jarvis Brownley made a trade request. Like, it happened so fast that it makes you wonder if there was some sort of like moment that said, all right, we have to get him out of here.
And that's what I asked yesterday. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, entering camp, like, this guy was one of the cornerstones that the defense was being built around.
Right. And when you did,
what happened from then to now to get us to this point?
You didn't know if L'Jarius Sneed was going to be available this year. It was like, hey, that is your number 1 cornerback. Mm-hmm. And it's tough to put together the pieces of how we got from where we were at the beginning of training camp to where we are now, where Jarvis Brownley is no longer on the team, and you didn't even net a pick. Like, it's not like you didn't get a clean pick for Jarvis Brownley, which is,
yeah, you basically moved up from the 7th. Not basically.
You did.
You moved up from the 7th to the 6th round.
You moved up probably 30 picks.
But you know what's crazy? When you're picking late like that, what are you hoping to do? Hey, maybe this guy could develop into a contributor.
Right. It's the
guess what Jarvis Brownley did? Of course, 5th round pick, but still, like, you could give yourself headaches. It's like the hamster running on the wheel, because like every time you find something that makes sense, there's 4 more things that don't.
Right.
And so it's just like my guy Teddy Pendergrass said, man, I guess you just gotta let it go, man. It's just another love TKO.
I saw the Family Guy meme the other day, which I always love when trades are made like this. It's Jarvis Brownley is a starting cornerback, but a 6th round pick could be anything, even a starting cornerback. It's like you had one.
You had that.
And I understand that there's more to this, but it is tough when you're trying to rebuild this roster and find contributors. And one of the biggest things with that is hitting on those 5th or 6th round picks and finding guys who can start late in the draft. And you found one, and now he's no longer on the team.
But to your point about culture, and I'll be quick with this. To your point about culture, there is a shift, right? Like, Rand Carthon was here, and I think, and I remember at the symposium we did in Atlanta, me, him, and Paul D. Russell, Jeffrey Simmons' former agent, I said, I feel like Rand is a secret weapon, because there's an ability to get inside the mind and to relate. And that's not to say any slight on Mike Borgonzi, because I think Mike Borgonzi is going to be a fine general manager.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, Rand, I think what happened, Rand was leaning into that and saying, hey, I could handle a James Williams. Hey, I could handle a Tavondre Sweat. Hey, we could manage a Jarvis Brownley Jr. And now with him and Anthony Robinson also, with those guys being gone.
That's a good point.
It's a little, there's a disconnect, right? And it's natural. It's natural. It's understandable. So I wonder if, that's where some things unraveled. I'm going to continue to monitor the Tavondre Sweat situation. Not to say like there's something going on there, but I just want to see when he comes back, because this hasn't gotten off to the best start. And I know he was supposed to work out with Jeffrey Simmons and his brother, Dylan Bradley, who has a training facility right here in Nashville. They were supposed to do it. It didn't happen. You see what Jeffrey Simmons looks like coming back.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
It's definitely been a disappointing start to year 2 for T'Vondre Sweat, a guy who I think a lot of Titans fans thought was going to take a jump this year.
Mm-hmm.
Injuries, tonsillitis, there's some bad luck in there. But we'll see what he looks like when he comes back in a couple of weeks. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kenny the mailman is on the line. Kenny, always good to hear from you. What you got for us today?
Thank you very much. 2 quick questions. The name of your show is Next Man Up. Have you read the book Next Man Up?
I have not. Actually, having different hosts every day, we were thinking, next man up mentality. So
you know what, Kenny, you're a mailman. Special delivery.
I was just fixing to say I purchased one last night, and you'll be getting it in the mail early next week.
That's dope.
I hate that it follows the Ravens, but it is an excellent football book. It just goes the whole year behind the scenes, and the arguments over who's on the special teams this week, who are we making active and inactive, they really opened my eyes. I had no idea that went on. So you're going to enjoy that book.
Well, thank you, Kenny.
Look for it early next week. Here's my question for the great Turron.
Oh, man, thanks.
The next coach for the Titans is on someone else's staff right now. And we know Callahan's gone. And he's watching and waiting, and he's really, really good. Why would he come here? He's already seen how coaches are treated. They're put in positions they never should be put in, getting up talking about trades. I think Vrabel had to get up and talk about the GM getting fired, didn't he?
He did have to talk. There were multiple times he had to talk when it's like, why are you even talking to us?
Why would I leave a good position? And, if you take a first job, you've got to do well. Because if you do bad, it's far in between when you get another chance. So why would a good coach even consider coming here and working for this group? Thank you, and I'll listen for your answer.
Thank you for the call, Kenny.
That's an awesome question by Kenny. In fact, I was talking with somebody yesterday, and we were going over possibilities, and I was like, hey, man, God forbid it happens, but if it does, because I never pray for or even plot on anybody losing their job.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But if it does happen, Cliff Kingsbury would be the one. But then he was like, why the hell would Cliff Kingsbury come here? And I was like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
So Kenny makes a great point, because look, this is a roster. This is an organization. Because if Brian Callahan is fired 1, 2, 3, 4 years in a row, a coach or GM was fired.
Yep.
So if that's the case, I'm Mike Borgonzi, and I'm like, woo, because the trend goes coach, GM coach, GM coach. You know what's next, GM.
Yeah.
But to get to Kenny's point, I really, as a head coach, I would be hesitant to come here because, the roster is, it's bottom 5 in the league.
Yep.
Now, the one thing that would be 2 things that are intriguing: A, Cam Ward; B, they're going to have $100+ million to spend in free agency.
Yep. 126 is what they've got as of now.
But
plus probably a top 5 pick.
You look at the needs, and the receiver group isn't. If there was one receiver I would go after, and I know I'm going all over the place, but that's just how my mind works. Alec Pierce is the one I would go get.
I do like that.
I would go get. That's man. I love Alec Pierce. Parker will tell you. Remember, he was coming out, man. We had him on the show. When he was coming out of Cincinnati.
I can confirm he does love Alec Pierce.
There we go. I like Alec Pierce too. And hope. Did we ever get an update on his injury from Sunday?
Good question.
I haven't actually checked, but
I'll check. Let me check Stephen Holder's timeline. I'll check it.
We'll give you an update coming back. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue talking about all the news in Titans land coming up next. We'll get into Bo Hardigree as a play caller. Brian Callahan has given up his play calling duties, trying to take some stuff off his plate. How will this affect the Titans offense? How will this affect Cam Ward? Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. That was Brian Callahan back on Tuesday talking about what makes Bo Hardigree a good coach as he takes over play calling. Next man up, Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly.
Got that Michael Jackson rolling.
PK 2 for 2 so far today.
2 for 2.
Although he got some help from you on the first one.
Yeah, well, that's theme music right there. This is a dope track too, man. I always used to get in arguments, Michael Jackson versus Prince. I'm a Prince guy, but Michael Jackson's that dude.
Yeah.
Too.
Is it a 1A, 1B type situation?
Yeah. It's kind of like a Benz or a Beamer type of thing. Okay. You know what I mean? Ferrari or Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Both like high quality, but it just depends on what you like.
Yeah. MJ, that's a good one coming back from Parker. I did see when I walked out, I saw MJ was on the screen. I didn't know what song it was going to be. That's a good choice from PK.
There you go. I like that one.
So Bo Hardigree taking over play calling, and like you said, I don't think the philosophy or anything is going to change all that drastically. It's still the same system. It's just a different voice in Cam Ward's head, helmet, I guess I should say. But Bo Hardigree takes over. He was the interim offensive coordinator for the Raiders back in 2023, and there were some up and down games in terms of scoring with that team. But it's a guy who's done it before at the NFL level. And you do remember, like, Antonio Pierce took over as the interim head coach and got hired as their head coach, although just for the 1 year.
And let Hardigree go.
Right. He did let Bo Hardigree go. But you've seen him do it before. He's had success. I am excited to watch this game on Sunday to see if the offense maybe starts to pick up, and also if Brian Callahan can be better when it comes to the in-game decision-making now that he isn't worried about getting a play in every single day.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that is the big picture thought process is it's going to allow him to take a step back. In fact, that Tuesday when he spoke, Denard Wilson, he said that Callahan was in the defensive meeting.
Right.
I thought that was pretty good. And then the other thing is, and that was a great quality of Mike Vrabel's, his ability to drop gems everywhere across the staff and the players. So Callahan, I would imagine, is kind of going that road. The ability as an offensive play caller, offensive mind, to tell your DC, hey, if I was a coordinator, this is how I would attack you guys. Like, that's good conversation to have.
Yeah, that is true.
So that's a great thing. And that's like, you look at Bill Belichick. One of the reasons why he was able to spread himself across the board was because he knew defense so well. He was like, well, I mean, if I was offense, I would attack the defense. So it worked. I'm not saying it's going to work to Belichick's level, but I think when you look at the ability to step back and be like, okay, I got to spread out and be involved in everything. Now, if I were Callahan, I would stay away from John Fossil in the group because what they got going is good. Because it's finally to a point now where every time the returner gets the ball, you're like, he could break
get on the edge of your seat a little bit.
Yeah, got that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chimere DK has been great from that perspective.
I mean, I think we are going to finally break the return touchdown drought at some point this season with what we've seen through 3 games. But yeah, I might say, Brian Callahan, why don't you stay out of the special teams room? Just let Bones do his thing over there. I think you're right that it is good, Brian Callahan going to be able to spread himself out, be more of the CEO type head coach. But the question that's been asked around, and I know Paul Karski asked Brian Callahan about this on Tuesday, of you were brought here to be the offensive guru head coach who calls the plays. If you're not calling plays, is that kind of a demotion? And does that kind of take away the point of having you here when you were brought here to be the guy to revolutionize the offense into the 21st century?
It's a fair question. But here's the thing, right? And a part of good leadership is having the self-awareness, the self-actualization to empower people who you feel can do the job also, right? And I think that's what's going on here, where he's like, yeah, 3-17, like, this thing ain't going away. I know last year was last year, but it just started off quick. Maybe I need to step back. Let's get somebody else in place. And here's the thing about Bo Hardigree, right? You mentioned, the interim. They were 5-9. They went from 15 points a game to 22. Like, that's a whole touchdown.
They did have it 163.1 in there, but they also got shut out once when he was the
They did.
OC,
Minnesota, I think it was.
It was 3-0 was the final in that.
Yeah. What a game. But they did drop a 60 burger on the Chargers, you know. So that being said, Aiden O'Connell as a rookie, you know what I mean? He had his career high 299 passing yards in one of those games. But I think you got to look at the relationship that he and Cam Ward have and just kind of look at Cam's conversations, look at his press conferences, right? Whenever he mentions the coaching staff, Bo Hardigree is basically the 1B that he mentions. And they spend so much time together. You watch them during practice. When we got to see the full practice, like you watch them and this dude is like with him all the time. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's a good thing to have him in this place.
I think that's an important point, and I agree with you on the Brian Callahan front of, you know, as much as we criticize Brian Callahan for a lot, he's shown the ability to be flexible. And he is not set in his ways, which can be the downfall of a lot of coaches, is that they want to do things their way and they're not willing to adjust. Brian Callahan has at least showed that he's willing to change things as he tries to save his job. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Fred is on the line, wanting to talk about the play caller. Fred, thanks for calling. What you got?
Good morning. I listened to the press conference several times. Coach talked about the system and the procedures, and if it's a first down, this coach is responsible. If it's second and third down, it's another coach. If it's red zone, it's another coach that's responsible for the play. I don't see anything any different happening for that reason. If the coaching staff are all contributing, and so then we're just going to make this guy the new mouthpiece and relay what he's told, is that what's going to happen? And that's my question.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Fred. I think the way Brian Callahan was trying to describe it was more about the game planning process of Nick Holtz is in charge of base downs and Randy's got the screens and it's about the game planning. That's all set. The play caller is then going through his sheet and finding the plays that he wants to call.
Right.
So every staff across the NFL has a full offensive staff that game plans during the week.
Yeah.
It's not just the play caller who's going through everything one at a time.
Right. Yeah. It's a collaborative process, as Callahan said. And just to give you an example of this, if you go back to 2017, right, you have Philly Special, right?
Right.
So that play was something that Press Taylor, Zach Taylor's younger brother, Press Taylor had found. The Bears they ran it, right? And they ran, I think, like in the preseason or something like that. They ran it. He, as the like red zone, short yardage coordinator, so to speak.
Yeah.
He put that into their package, and you know there was something that they all knew about. And as you know, Nick Foles, what about Philly? And you know,
and Doug Peterson called the play.
Yeah, so Doug Peterson. But here's another example of the collaborative effort. Right, there was a play where Zach Ertz ran the slant, and he caught the ball. I'm not looking at the screen. I'm looking like trying to recall it. He caught the ball, and that was the go ahead touchdown. Right.
Yep.
And that play was a collection of things that Frank Reich, John DeFilippo, and Press Taylor, they all put it together, right? And it was literally a collection of different plays that they saw work against the Patriots. They saw the motion. Oh, when they motion, the safety comes down like this. Oh, wait, we like our tight end against their safety. And we notice when people run a slant against them, the line, right? And so it was a collaborative effort. And that's, I think, what Callahan was getting at. And in some cases, like it all comes together in one play that is called, let alone the full like scheme.
Right. And I know Titans fans have PTSD from the word collaboration, but that is how it is done. And the whole offensive staff works together to put together the game plan. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will get to all of your phones again. Your chance to talk to TD coming up at 10. We're kind of doing it throughout the show. Lots of people on the phone lines today. We will get to you coming up next. Looking for a good spot to watch NFL games on Sunday? Then you should come to Twin Peaks in Cool Springs, home of the 29-degree beer, and join 102.5 The Game for the pregame show before the Titans take on the Texans. The pregame show is brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Old National Bank, Circa Sportsbook, Kentucky, and Tennessee Brewers. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. The Blue Raiders will take on Kennesaw State this Saturday at 5 p.m. Catch all of the action on Totally Hits 93.3 with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, vibing in the studio right now.
That right there, it brings me flashbacks, man. I remember my parents used to be downstairs. They have an incense lighting lit. They just sitting there just talking, radio playing, the lights dim. Good memories, man. Good memories, man. That's grown folk music right there. Teddy Pendergrass, love TKO.
Parker Kelly, 3 for 3. You've only got 6 chances today. So
that one right there has helped me none. By the way, it's been all me.
That one right there, that counts as 4.
Okay,
yeah, that love TKO. That's an all-time classic.
Extra
right
points
there.
when I can
Parker
get
getting some extra credit here in the last bump of the hour.
Classic.
Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Gorilla is on the line wanting to talk about the play calling. Thanks for calling. What you got for us this morning?
What's going on? Hey, he took you back to your hometown, didn't he, Turron?
You already know, Gorilla. That's
Philly,
that's back to the crib, man. Teddy P, man. You already know.
Man.
Yeah.
Hey, East Philly, Camden, baby.
Oh, that's what's up. Okay, you right across the bridge, man.
No, you know I'm Nashville. I just know your area, man.
Oh, okay. All right.
Man, I'm the one that sat down with you on the cigar tip, bro.
Oh, yeah. Yo, what's up, man? Good to talk to you.
Good. I sent those songs out to you just recently.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got the country jump.
Yeah. Man, see what you can do with that, man. We'll meet up at the spot, man. I'll catch you out there.
All right, for sure. That's my guy, Dre, right there.
My thing is this here, fellas. Real talk. I've been telling everybody that this coaching staff, I think he draws up decent plays. He gets players open, but he just has no feel for the game. He has no feel for the game whatsoever. And if you look at it, that's what's been killing us, his indecision, his lack of understanding the flow of the game. Secondly, I want to know how much autonomy is Bo going to actually have? Midstream and calling plays, are we going to have Callahan in his ear? Don't call that. Don't do this. Because we need someone that just has a feel for the game, man. I'll hang up and listen. What do you guys think?
That's a great point.
I think that is a good point.
He's spot on with that. And that's something that I would wonder since last year. Like, where is the feel, right? The layering plays. You know what I mean? Are you running the screen game and then doing the stalk block and wheel up? That's an example. Like, are you doing things to set it up? Like, are you watching the stretch runs and how the backside defensive end is playing that? Is he crashing down? Which would mean that, hey, you know what? Exactly. We're going to boot it and I'm going to keep it and go. Right. Like, are you doing those? And I don't see that as much. And that's something that I wonder if Bo Callahan is going to be Bo Callahan. The group
I did
together.
The exact same thing yesterday.
Yeah, I put them together. I wonder if Bo Hardigree with Callahan overseeing it is going to be able to get them in a better feel and flow for the game.
Yes. I think last year, not as much this year, but last year you could see the scripted drives seemed to work. And when they had it ready and were like, all right, this is what we're doing. But once you got into that spot where Brian Callahan has to, off the top of his head, make calls, there wasn't a lot of flow. We'll see if Bo Hardigree is able to fix some of that. I think it's a good point, too, by Gorilla of, like, how much autonomy does Bo Hardigree have? Is it his choice, whatever play he calls, or is Callahan going to be in his ear saying, like, hey, really think we should call this here? That's what I guess you wonder. I would think Bo Hardigree would have pretty much independence to call whatever plays he wants.
Yeah, and that's what I had mentioned earlier. Like, I wonder what that process is going to be like. The collection of voices. You got Nick Holtz, Hardigree, and and even Tyke Tolbert, Randy Jordan. Like, there's a lot. Bill Callahan. There's a lot of voices, and so how is that going to go before the play is ultimately relayed into Cam Ward? And that's a whole issue that no one is really discussing. But there's a lot of times where the play is getting in there, and you're deep into the play clock. So as a rookie who has the freedom to check plays, you get to the line of scrimmage and your time to analyze what's going on is limited, then that makes it even harder to be able to get out of the bad situation and into a good one.
Yes, lots of cooks in the kitchen for the Titans, and you have to hope that maybe Brian Callahan takes his finger out of the pie on play calling and lets Bo Hardigree do what he does. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. It is time for you to talk to TD. We've been kind of doing it throughout the show. Lots of great stuff on the phone lines. But right now, if you have questions for TD, text or call 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll spend the next 30 minutes going through all of your questions for Turron Davenport, who is here till 11 a.m. The Commodores will take on Utah State this Saturday at First Bank Stadium. Pregame begins at 10 a.m. and on 102.5 The Game with kickoff at 11:45. Vanderbilt football is brought to you by Gary Force Acura, Jimmy Kelly Steakhouse, and Smoky Mountain Tops. And again, we will also have the voice of Vanderbilt football, Andrew Allegretta, on at 11 for his weekly visit to the program. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you, wrapping up hour number 1 on this Thursday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, joined by ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And it is time to talk to TD, giving you your chance out there. If you have questions for Turron Davenport, could be Titans, could be NFL, could be anything. You get those at 615-737-1025. You can text or call. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Lots of good stuff on the phone lines today. Let's start with Thomas on a car phone on our text line. He says, at this point, I think we need to start looking for the next coach. I know it may sound crazy, but what about bringing John Gruden in? He is hungry to get back to coaching, and he would probably bring in established coordinators, not just hiring his high school buddies. Thanks, guys. TD, your thoughts?
Yeah, the Gruden conversation is one I've seen throughout Titans Twitter, so it's only natural that it makes it here. I mean, that's a tough question, right? I don't know. That's one to really think about, right? And I know Gruden, hey, the Bucs won the Super Bowl with him, et cetera, et cetera. Now, of course, that was Tony Dungy's team, but, that's a different conversation. I think, if anything, it would definitely bring experience and the possibility for some stability, as long as, like, he could, you know what I mean? Keep it right, keep it tight. But I don't know that I would rush to do that one. I think they might need, because I wonder if there's a disconnect, right? He and Cam Ward. I think they might need that younger, and that's why Cliff Kingsbury seems like such a natural fit.
Yeah.
But, would he come here? That's the whole thing, because he's going to be a hot commodity.
We were going through this on Tuesday there are kind of three names that are out there right now if you're looking for an offensive-minded head coach. Kingsbury's one, and I think he's kind of the happy medium between these, because you could go Joe Brady, but he's never been a head coach, but he's probably the hottest offensive coordinator out there. And then you could go to the other end of Mike McCarthy, who's older, experienced, but he's out of the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
He does have the Chad Brinker connection. I think those are the three names that you kind of look at when it comes to, again, Brian Callahan's still here right now, but if the Titans were to go for an offensive head coach again.
Yeah, and I think when you look at McCarthy, that's another situation where it's like, is he going to be out of touch with Cam Ward? You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, if you bring in a McCarthy, you'll definitely want to have a younger OC, or a quarterback. Like, you got to have some type of median that will be able to be like that mid ground, to relay between the two. Now, I tell you another guy that you look at ties to the front office, Matt Nagy, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the Chiefs aren't the hottest thing right now, but there are ties to Borgonzi, and then also you're looking at a guy who has head coaching experience, obviously, with the Bears. Now, we know that didn't go well.
It didn't end well, but people forget he had that team rolling for a little bit there.
Yeah, initially. So, I mean, that is something to look at as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Very
as of
much
now,
so.
Brian Callahan is the head coach. But obviously those are some options if the Titans did make a move to move on. I saw this earlier, and I mentioned this to you off the air, TD. Jeff, when talking about the Jarvis Brownley trade, says, so the Titans made another A.J. Brown trade, and it's an overreaction. I would compare this more to the Dorial Green Beckham trade of like, hey, this is a guy who there's talent there, but clearly needs a change of scenery. Jarvis was more productive than DGB was, but I would have loved to see the Titans get a player back instead of that pick swap. And you mentioned Brandon Stevens, a guy that hasn't really worked out with New York. Doesn't have to be a cornerback, but go get a guy who maybe you could bring in and he can add some depth to this team instead of just moving up 30 picks at the end of day 3 of the draft.
Yeah, and look, Brandon Stevens, that would be a good opportunity for the Jets to offload money. The Titans obviously can afford it. He's a guy that signed, I think it was a 3-year, $36 million deal. and it just hasn't panned out.
Yeah.
Like they overpaid for him. But here's the other thing too, why that would have worked out, because remember, if I'm not mistaken, he was in Baltimore when Denard Wilson was there. I have to double check it.
Yes, I believe so.
You know, I think when you look at those things, like it would make sense, you know, but nevertheless, it didn't happen. I still think that it would be good to be able to, he was there.
He was, yes.
Yeah, I think it would be good to be able to, get some type of player instead of the 30 picks. Like this just screamed, hey, I've taken all I can and I can't take any more. You know what I mean?
Please take him. Like that's kind of what it looks like. Because in terms of return that you can get in a trade, it's about as low as you can get. I'll give you a 7th, you give me a 6th, and we'll call it even. Like that's it's basically nothing. Yes, the Jets will probably be picking towards the top of the 6th round. You could be picking 1 and 2 in the 6th round with your pick and the Jets pick now. But obviously not a great return for Jarvis Brownley, who is a starting quarterback on this team. We'll get away from football here. Justin from Greenbrier asks, and we've been talking about music a lot this morning. How eclectic is your music taste, TD? Like, diverse. Man. How far do you go?
Yeah, well, look, man, Justin, I'm a huge Freddie Mercury fan, right? I love Teddy Pendergrass, as you could tell. Prince. It's very diverse. You know, I love the Doors. I tell you, interesting story. What made me start really loving classic rock music was going to the Hard Rock Cafe, right? Like I have a thing every city I go to. And when I was married, I used to every time if we would go to a city together, we'll make sure we go to a Hard Rock. But then when we visited separate, we would always make sure that we bought a pin. Like my ex-wife has a whole bunch of pins from all over, whether it's London, everywhere. You know what I mean? So long story short, sitting in there and just feeling the vibe of the music playing and everything going around, and you're like, dang, Eric Clapton, I hear the song. That's his guitar up there that he used to play. Like it really charged me up. So I started to love. So long story short, again, classic rock. I love obviously hip hop, R&B. I'm a huge R&B fan. I used to listen to, Prince, Brian McKnight, Aaliyah, Tony before games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
I love it. I learn a lot about music doing these shows with TD, because it's like I would say my music, I like a lot of different things, but I'm not quite as into it. Like I don't listen to music quite as often as a lot of people do. So I do learn a lot every time that we bring TD on.
I love music, man.
Parker,
I love it.
Parker spins them back there.
Yeah.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have questions for TD, now is the time to get them in. You can text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. David is correcting us. It is not the Jets 6th round pick. It's the Ravens 6th round pick. So even less of a move.
Okay, so it was a pick acquired from the Ravens.
So you're moving up like 5 spots in the 7th round into the 6th round, probably, if the Ravens end up going as deep in the playoffs as they look like.
That cheapens it even more.
I guess now it might be a good time to ask Ravens Chiefs this weekend. Big one. Both teams 1 and 2. Which team do you think can afford to lose that game more? Like both those teams are expected to be Super Bowl contenders in the AFC, but 1 and 3 is not an easy hole to dig yourself out of.
I think the Chiefs could afford to win it more because, as you see right there, Lamar Jackson 1 and 5 against Mahomes, and the thing is, the Chiefs have been there and done that. They could always lean back on, this is what we do.
We got 3 Super Bowls.
We got 3 Super Bowls. We'll get it together and figure it out. Whereas the Ravens are like, man, this is another year where we lost to Mahomes. Man, he's 6-1 against us now. So I think they need it because their climb is a little bit steeper than the Chiefs.
The Ravens have also just had a brutal schedule to start the season. I mean, the Ravens having to play at the Bills, Lions on Monday Night Football, at the Chiefs in 3 of their first 4 weeks. I think a lot of teams would start 1 and 3 with that schedule. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will continue to take your questions for Turron Davenport. Make sure you get those in. You can text or call. Again, this can be football. If you want to talk baseball, TD and I will put away our depression and talk baseball. Please don't text us about baseball. 615-737-1025. Get your questions in for Turron Davenport. This Sunday, the NFL game of the week on 94.9 The Fan is the Packers versus the Cowboys at 7:20 p.m. The NFL game of the week is presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. We'll take a break. We will continue to talk with TD coming up on the other side. Get your questions in 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Saturday's college football game of the week is Oregon versus Penn State at 6:30 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circa Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, little Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Showing the diversity of Turron Davenport's music.
And you know, small nugget about Freddie Mercury. I don't know if you knew this, but he had 36 teeth.
Really?
Yes. Or he had more than 32 teeth. I don't remember the exact number. And he didn't get it pulled, the extra ones, because somehow that helped him hit another note. And if you hear some of the notes that man has hit, woo, him, Dave, I was telling you on the break, David Bowie. So I remember I watched the movie Labyrinth, and this was like 1983, 84. And he was like the main guy over the little rascals who lived in the cave or whatever. And I remember watching that, and they played a song. I don't remember what the song was, but I was like, that's a dope song. And ever since then, I've been a David Bowie fan.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for someone with about the most diverse music taste you could find, I think TD might be your guy.
I might be the one.
Yeah.
You know, because I listen to Smashing Pumpkins, Suicidal Tendencies. Like, we go all over the place. Hell's Bells, everywhere, man. You never know what you're going to hear. You get in the car with me.
I love it. Great question from Justin from Greenbrier here as we do our weekly Talk to TD. Your chance to get your questions in for Turron Davenport, 615-737-1025. Good comment in the YouTube chat. Not a question, but I did want to get to this. Top Tier says, people are overlooking Chig, and they're mistaken. He's been good with his opportunities, caught 12 of 16 targets for 120 yards, and he led the team in receiving on Sunday against the Colts. I actually think Chig has been one of the bright spots on this offense for the few that there have actually been.
Yeah, he has. He's been somewhat of a bright spot. And you look at, as Top Tier mentioned, 12 of 16 targets. Now, of course, one of them was a high and hot seam route that he got his hands on it. He should have caught it. It was on third down, a very crucial third down. But here's the thing with Chig. And as I said in the group chat, like, it's only a matter of time till he has one of those catches and runs where you're like, how did he do that?
Right.
You know what I mean? You look at the Chiefs game where he had that one.
Yeah, the little screen.
And as I said in there, it's like Tecmo Bowl. Like, that might be before your time, but it used to be like you would, in Tecmo Bowl, like you would run with Bo Jackson or somebody like that. And like, it's like three guys tackling you, and all of a sudden they fly off you and you run for the touchdown. That's what Chig did, except for he got caught, before he got to the end zone. But still, big run, though.
Yes. I think if you're looking for bright spots on the offensive line, on the offensive line, it's Peter Skoronski. He's definitely been the bright spot. I think Cam Ward, as a rookie quarterback, has been a bright spot. Elikai Manor.
Yeah.
And then I'd say Chig. Like, that's probably it on the offense.
Yeah, and DK's
had his moments.
Slowly sneaking in there.
Tony Pollard's been.
Yeah, Pollard's because Pollard is the new Honda Accord.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's the we'll change it up. He's the Chevy Corsica.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The old car that is just always, it's never going to break down, and it's always going to get you where it got.
You shipped the Honda Accord down to Miami.
Yeah.
And now you got the Corsica.
Got the Corsica.
Rolling in the back.
Chevy Cavalier. We'll call it that. The car that more people will know.
Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. James from Ashland City is on the line with a question. James, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Well, normally I'm talking to Turron in the afternoon, but I just happened to be in the car running errands, so I thought, what the heck, let me give a call. As far as Turron, your musical taste, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, my taste is all over the place, from 60s R&B to 90s R&B to classic rock, man, to the best music ever, 90s alternative. I'm just like you, all over the place. But what I want to say, first, before I ask the question, I just want to get a quick diatribe off my chest. This team spent lots of money invested in the offensive line this year, and I don't want to hear any excuses just because J.C. Layden went down with an injury that all of a sudden now we can't block for our rookie quarterback, who I believe is going to be a great quarterback in this league if given the opportunity and given the pieces to be set up for success. To me, Turron, the history of this offensive line going downhill has all started when we got rid of Jack Conklin. And I think that was in 2018. If I'm wrong, correct me. But ever since then, every year we've gradually gotten worse and worse and worse to the point we were just at our worst 2 years ago and last year. So my question to you is, with all the money that this organization has spent on the offensive line, where's the depth? And I'll hang up and listen. What's your answer to that? Is it what's the possible solution? Have a nice day.
Thanks for the call, James.
Great call.
It's a great question because we've talked so much about the investment on this offensive line, not even including the guys who are here right now. Like, you've got a first, a second, and a third round pick, all from the last 5 years, who are not on this team anymore.
Bingo.
So
that's where the issue is.
Right. And they can't seem to fix it. I understand no one wants to hear, well, J.C. Latham's out. But that is a big part of it, is that they've had to rotate people in at right tackle. Zeitler missed last week. But yes, like Dan Moore and Lloyd Cushenberry, those guys were paid a lot of money to come in here and fix this thing, and they haven't been good enough right now.
Right tackle is reaching wide receiver level void for this organization, right? And you remember, like, they traded A.J. Brown and it's like, yo, you finally got a receiver.
Yeah.
And he's gone. Jack Conklin, you finally got, like, you got bookends. And it was 29th after the 2019 season, he left. And they've been reeling, trying to replace him. And it's like that right tackle position is just one where it's like, if you play that position, like, all superstitions,
right?
Don't split any poles. You know what I mean? Don't drop the salt. Like,
luck on your
none
side.
of that, because it's just been bad vibes, bad circumstance for anybody who plays that position.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this keeps happening. Like, J.C. Latham's hurt, and you would hope that once he gets back, that right tackle position will be fixed. But yeah, it's been bad. I don't know if we've had this conversation about wide receivers, but do you know who would be the third best wide receiver the Titans have drafted since 2015?
Third best?
I had this conversation with Corey Curtis, and it's kind of amazing. The top two are A.J. Brown, Corey Davis. Those are the top two guys at wide receiver the Titans have drafted since they took Dorial Green Beckham in 2015. Do you know who would be third?
Spears?
Yes. Or Taywan Taylor. Those are your two options.
I said Tajay Spears.
Or, sorry, Tajay Sharp. Yes,
Tajay
I knew
Sharp.
you were saying. Yeah. It's crazy. Wide receiver and right tackle. They can't figure it out.
Wow. Well, Alec Ironmanner is trending towards getting past Tajay Sharp had game, man. I used to love his game, man.
I liked him coming out of UMass. Yeah. Like, he was a good player. His most famous moment is introducing King Henry after beating the Ravens in that divisional playoff.
That was funny. Yeah.
Justin from Smyrna asking, this is now 2 play callers for Cam Ward in his first season, only 3 games in. If Brian Callahan gets fired, then you'd have a third one. Do we think that this could stunt his growth if they're unable to find some consistency with him?
Well, the thing, it is 2 play callers, but it's still the same scheme, right? So whether it's Brian Callahan saying, whatever the play call would be, or Hardigree, it's still he's not learning a new scheme. Now, maybe a new sequence or style, but that changes from game to game anyway. You know what I mean? So I don't think what's going on now will stunt his growth. I do believe, because remember, Cam Ward is used to, having to learn different schemes. Of course, he had the same scheme in Incarnate Word in his first year at Washington State, but there was change after that, and then another change after that. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. And after all, Cam Ward is a guy that was in the 5th grade, his dad told me, and his dad taught him the Houston Gamblers playbook, 5th grade, right? So he's not an elementary level, he's not your typical level rookie quarterback. His understanding is a little different. So I'll say that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, that he is used to having different voices calling the plays for him. He's used to learning new systems. And again, if Brian Callahan keeps trending in this direction, he'll likely have to learn a new system next year. But the old adage that Robbie Stanley keeps saying is stability for the sake of stability is stupid. It's like, you can't just keep someone because you think it's good for Cam Ward to have stability.
Absolutely. Robbie Stanley is 100% right.
Yep.
His definition of insanity, right? So if a change is needed, then you got to make the change and then hope that change will lead to the stability that you're going after.
Right. You hope that you can find the guy who can unlock Cam Ward and allow him to elevate the team around him. Right now, yes, the coaching's been bad, but you also have to realize that the talent on the roster isn't.
Yeah, it hasn't been good. And just to kind of, it just dropped into my mind when you talk about the depth at O-line real quick. Most teams don't have 3 good tackles. You know what I mean? So I understand the frustration. And again, I'm not defending what's going on. I'm just explaining it. If you look across the league, most teams, their 3rd tackle is basically the level of Ali Udo or John Ojukwu.
Yeah.
Whereas it's a guy that you could plug in and play in a pinch, but you're not going to be banging the table about how happy you are doing so.
Titans fans got a little spoiled having Lawan Conklin and then Dennis Kelly because and even like David Questenberry was a good swing tackle to have. Like
Ty Sambrayo.
Right. They had some options, and now it's kind of getting back to the point. And tackle depth around the league is down.
It's down.
It's hard to find good tackles anywhere. And we've seen that because the Titans have traded for Dennis Daly and signed Andre Dillard and everything else they've done to try and fix that right tackle position, and it just hasn't worked. Hopefully J.C. Latham getting healthy will fix that. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Ben on the text line actually leads me right into where I wanted to go next. He says people need to realize that hopefully 40 out of our current 53 guys are not on this team in the new stadium.
Yikes.
And that is where I wanted to go with this next segment is the Titans are building to try and be good when the new stadium opens. Like that is what they want. 2027, that this team is back to being a playoff contender. Who on this team are we confident is going to be part of that next core when this team gets good? We will go through it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan will be broadcasting live from 3 to 6 p.m. at Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse tomorrow as they celebrate the opening of their all-new rooftop dining area and bar. It's also a great place to go before or after Vanderbilt games. Next Man Up continues after this here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly. Having some fun on this Thursday. Was this a TD suggestion, or did Parker pull this one by himself?
It was a suggestion.
It was a suggestion. TD's
Encore, Cheryl Lynn. This is one of those, like, you just can't help but feel good, man.
It gets the mood going.
You just can't help but bounce to that.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to chime in on the conversation, you can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. TD with us for 30 more minutes on this Thursday. Andrew Allegretta from Vanderbilt football going to be calling in at 11 a.m. So I teased it before the break that Ben on our text line said people need to realize that hopefully 40 of our current 53 guys are not on this team in the new stadium. And that was exactly what I had planned for these final 30 minutes with TD is the Titans are trying to rebuild this core. And we've gone through all the needs that they have. Mm-hmm. You need edge rushers. You need cornerbacks. You need wide receivers. You need offensive line help still. But who are we confident that is on this team right now is part of the next core? Let's start with the offense. I think Cam Ward is the obvious one. Cam Ward, if this team's going to be good again in 2027, Cam Ward is going to be its quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you're not moving on from him next year. I think Peter Skoronski's pretty fair. That dude's playing his way into a long extension. I think he's going to be the left guard for a while. I think it's safe to say J.C. Latham is part of the long-term plans. His injury and, that stuff, we'll see how it works out the rest of this year. Alec Iamaner, I think I would also put in that conversation. Mm-hmm. Is there anybody else on the offensive side of the ball that you think you can say confidently is going to be part of this team in 2 years?
Mm-mm.
That's crazy. I mean, I understand the turnover in the NFL is high, but that's 4.
4 guys. Look, Chimere DK, I think so, but
right.
More on a special team side. But, he could develop into that 3rd or 4th guy that you bring in situationally.
I think you hope Gunnar Helm, right? Like you hope that.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Gunnar. Gunnar Helm for sure.
Are you saying for sure?
Gunnar Helm is nice.
I like Gunnar Helm.
Gunnar is nice.
But are we sure that he is tight end of the future for this team?
I think.
You think so?
At the very least, tight end too.
Okay.
They would be wild to not have him on this roster and because remember, we're talking about a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He is going to outperform his draft status.
I agree with that.
So let's make it 5. Gunnar Helm for sure.
So we'll put Gunnar Helm in there, but the rest of the offensive line, I think you'd make the guess. Maybe Dan is still the left tackle in 2027. Maybe not.
That's one I got to double check that contract.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's set up that they could get out of that. Actually, in 2 years.
So heading into the new stadium, maybe they move on, and maybe that's where I understand Titans fans aren't going to be happy spending another high pick on a tackle, but maybe one of the next 2 drafts, you've got to spend a 2nd or 3rd round pick on a tackle and hope they can develop to be the successor to Dan Moore. Mm-hmm. There is an out after year 2, actually with 0 dead cap. So that's basically a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
Of 2025, 2026, guaranteed money is done, and then you can cut him for nothing. So that's probably what's going to end up happening based on the way Dan Moore has played so far. Lloyd Cushenberry, I would say almost is certainly gone.
Yeah.
Could you put Jackson Slater in there? Not confidently. He hasn't played a snap in a real NFL game yet, but I think he may be a guy the Titans are viewing as part of that future offensive line.
I think he could be around. Yeah, Jackson Slater is like playing spades. Like we got 5 in a possible. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks. Like I put Ward and Skoronski as the 2 guys 100% going to be, if this team's going to be good again in 2 or 3 years, those guys are going to be a part of it. Latham and Iamaner, I feel confident about. I'd say like 90%. And then everybody else I would say is 70% or less. Helm and DK would probably be higher on that, but there's not a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball right now.
I will push back and say, I would say 100%. The 5 guys we mentioned.
Really?
I would be very surprised if any of them are not on the roster.
Yeah, well, maybe not on the roster, but at like a key part of the team. Like, do you think Gunnar Helm is going to blossom that much to be like your starting tight end in 2 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
I'm not saying I don't think it's going to happen, but just like
I
don't know if we've seen enough yet.
We haven't seen enough, but we haven't seen enough in games.
Yeah.
But I've seen enough in practice and even joint practices to say that dude is going to be a good player.
I want to touch on the running back position because I would guess Tony Pollard's not here next year.
Yeah.
I think that it just kind of makes sense that the wear on the tires is getting thin, the contract. Tyjae Spears, who knows what you're going to get out of him when he gets healthy, which he could be back next week, I guess.
He's been working.
His time on the IR is up. I would guess he's probably back for the Arizona game.
I would say just in watching him work, especially yesterday watching him work, I would be very surprised if he's not back. Which
would be a nice boost where Julius Chestnut had a nice run on Sunday.
He
late
did.
In that game.
He did. A little patience and bounce it outside.
Gotta give him credit.
Go ahead, Natron Means 2.0.
But you'll be happy to get Tyjae Spears back.
Yeah.
I think I disagreed with Corey Curtis on this yesterday. I think the Titans are going to have to spend a pick on a running back next year.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably got to be one of your top 4-round picks on a running back. I mean, I know you can find everybody says you can find a running back anywhere, but like not every 7th-round pick turns into Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt where he can be your starting running back in week 1. Like you've got to find somebody who can step in and be productive. I understand running back is a replaceable position, but unless you feel really good about Khalil Mullings taking a step next year, I think you got to go spend some draft capital or go get another free agent running back who could step in and be like the next Tony Pollard.
Yeah, I think at the very least, and I think Mullins is a guy that can be a part of a committee. But, I mean, that's the direction that this league is going. You don't really have too many base running backs, right? So I think – but when you get a good one, like look at you just saw – look at Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Look at him. You know, Jonathan Taylor's they don't just come every year.
Right. They're not just sitting out there, but
that's the example of when you hit on it and you get a guy. Heck, look at Saquon. Look at Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And running backs are replaceable, this, that, and the third. But when you get a good one that's a game changer, it changes everything.
Right. And I'm not advocating spending your 1st-round pick on a running back.
Right. This roster is not in a position to do that. You have
so many holes at premium positions. Your top pick has to be spent at edge, corner, wide receiver. Like that. Those are the 3 positions you should be looking at.
Yep.
But I know picking running backs in the 3rd round is a sore subject because of Darrington Evans and so far Tyjae Spears. But maybe that's where you have to look to get somebody productive. There are some options out there in free agency. Like, is Travis Etienne gonna go back to the Jags? Maybe he gets loose. Like, I wouldn't hate that as an addition. Breece Hall, I know he's taken a step back, but he's only 24. Maybe he's a guy you bring in. Like, if you don't want to spend a draft pick, you're going to have to go get someone in free agency because I don't know if Tony Pollard has a whole nother year of being your workhorse in and after this year.
Jeremy McNichols had a nice run. I'm not saying go get him, but he had a nice run for the Commanders.
The McWeapon. He's actually been pretty decent for them since Austin Eckler went down. So
Isaiah Pacheco.
Right. If you want the guy.
I don't think he's going to be expensive.
No.
But you talk about running or playing like Rents do. Like, yeah, he plays like Rent is past due.
Yes, he runs about as hard for somebody not moving that fast as I've ever seen. He's got a little bit of the Doug Martin muscle hamster going for him of just like it looks like he's running in place at times. So on the offensive side, the guys we are confident are part of the next core. Cam Ward, obviously, Peter Skoronski, J.C. Latham, Alec Iamaner, and you've got Gunnar Helm in there. I think that's about it.
I'm a pound the table for Gunnar Helm.
I like it.
I'm a pound it. Look,
hey,
pound the table for Gunnar
You've seen way more of Gunnar Helm than I have. So
I like his game. They got to get him the ball more.
Yes,
you know,
I
more.
mean,
And can we just talk a little bit about the sets?
Yeah,
11 personnel. That's their base. They use it so much, but the only other look that they give you is 12 personnel.
Yeah,
and it's like maybe 11-12% of the time.
Maybe bringing Tyjae Spears back will help that. You can go with some 21 and Like that mixes things up. But
I think they will use some 21. Yeah, especially in the pass game. You look at the screen game, like Randy Jordan caught a stray the other day, you know, when they met it.
Yeah.
Everybody, like my timeline was anti-Randy Jordan for a second, but you put Spears in there, he's a very good screen executor.
That was funny when Brian Callahan just outed Randy Jordan as the one who draws up the screen or game plans the screens. It's like, man, those haven't worked out so far. We are having the conversation of who are we confident is part of the next core for the Titans when they start to improve again. I know it's hard to believe, but yes, this team will probably get good again in the next few years. That's just how the NFL works. It's built for you to get out of the cellar and back into playoff contention. We've got 5 on the offensive side. We move to the defensive side of the ball next. Who are we confident will be around when the Titans start to improve in 2027 is kind of the timeline that we're looking for. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football games. Head up there for a doubleheader of Jets, Dolphins, and Bengals, Broncos, plus ask about Circa's giveaway of a trip to Las Vegas for the Titans-Raiders game coming up in October. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, wrapping up with TD.
Let's dance.
It was well done from Parker Kelly and TD on the music today.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have crushed it. Don't forget, Andrew Allegretto will be joining us coming up at 11 a.m. We'll talk some Vandy football. But as we wrap up here, TD, we were talking about guys on this team that we're confident are going to be part of the next core as this team tries to build up and get back into playoff contention. We went through the offense. We found 5 guys: Cam Ward, Peter Skoronski, J.C. Latham, Alec Iamaner, Gunnar Helm. On the defensive side, it's funny. I have Jarvis Brownley written down. I haven't edited this since he got traded. I've had this on the grid all week trying to get to this, but there's been so much going on. So we delete that. On defense, who are you confident will be around in a couple years? Because I really don't have many names that pop into my mind of like, hey, that guy is a key pillar of what this defense is going to be when they get good again.
Kevin Winston Jr.
I have him written down, but we still haven't seen him play a snap of real NFL football.
Haven't seen him play a snap. What?
That's I put him on there with a question mark. Femi, I think, is a guy that you hope is going to be part of that. We haven't seen enough from him yet as a second-round pick, but I do think they drafted him to be.
Yeah, those two, Kevin Winston Jr. and Femi.
T'Vondre Sweat?
No.
Yeah, and that's tough. It's tough because I think if you had asked anybody a month ago, the answer would have been easy yes.
I don't know that he's around next year.
Really?
Honestly.
That's shocking. I mean, to go from a guy who, in all regards, was supposed to be one of the, I would say, best 4 players on this defense this year to saying he may not even be on the team next year.
So with Rand and Anthony Robinson being gone, entering this offseason, I was really curious how it will work for T'Vondre Sweat. I said, you know what, Jeffrey Simmons is going to have to, but he's a fellow player. Like you
right.
can only ask him to do so much.
Yes.
I really thought that Sweat was going to work, as I said earlier, with Simmons in the offseason. You see how Simmons came back. I don't know that there's a very good mix. And I'm not saying that there's a disconnect, but I don't know that it's coming together,
right,
meshing as far as Sweat with the new regime. I just put it that way. I do know that they're doing a lot. Chick Igiasi, who is kind of like an unsung hero over there, is a guy that's kind of spearheading the player development program that they're using, that they're implementing. And from what I understand, like, it's really good. It's going to have to be especially good for Sweat. And that's not to say that Sweat's an issue. I'm not saying that he's an issue, but I think when you have a guy that you have to, pour resources into, it could get a little difficult. I'm not saying for sure he's not going to be here next year, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's not next year.
It's much bigger of a question mark than maybe we would have thought. So we got Winston, we got Oladejo, the 2 rookies who, again, you picked them in the top 100. You would hope that they're part of this team in the next couple of years.
I would say Marcus Harris. I think that he could be Marcus Harris is a solid corner. Now,
we're going to see more of him, I would guess, down the
we'll
stretch.
Probably see he and Jalen Armour Davis, Darrell Baker. It's going to be interesting, that left corner. But I mean, like you would say, Jeffrey Simmons, right?
That was my next question.
Who knows? What if Dallas comes and they're like, hey,
we'll give you one of the Packers first.
We'll give you a second. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what if that? Or you look at, and they have an abundance of picks, and Jeff lives and spends a lot of time in Dallas in the offseason. And then you look at the contract. Amani Hooker, I know he signed the deal, but it's a 3-year deal. So
Roger McCreary, if they extend him.
See what you just said?
Like, I mean, they haven't extended him yet, but like, I would think that after trading away Jarvis Brownley, you would hope that keeping your other good young corner is a priority, but who knows? He hasn't been extended yet. I think with Jeffrey Simmons, even if you don't trade him, I think you might get to a a Derrick Henry type crossroads of if this team's not very good this year, which is trending that way, doesn't seem like they're going to be a playoff contender next year. Does Jeffrey Simmons get to the point of just like, hey, I need to get out of here? So as bad of a shape as the offense seems to be in, the defense in the long term, there's just not a whole lot of pieces to build around right now.
Yeah, I mean, Cedric Gray is very intriguing. Like, he's outside of Ed Jenkins, like that was my favorite linebacker, my second favorite linebacker in that class. But when you're in Kaiser White, that dude he locates the football.
Right.
But when you're giving Kaiser White an opportunity over, your second year player that you spent a 4th round pick on to see what he could do. Well, anytime you're trying to see what something could do, that tells me you're not happy with what something you already have is doing. So
it's a good point. I think the Titans are going to have to spend a lot of capital on the defense. And I know the offense is flashier. You want to bring in a highly picked wide receiver and you got to get the offensive line fixed. But the guy that, if the Titans end up with a top 5 pick, which again, right now, I think they're slated to pick 2nd or 3rd. It's so early. And I hate talking.
Ruben Bain.
Ruben Bain. Yeah. That was, I think you might be in the spot of either trade down if there's a quarterback that somebody's willing to trade up for, or take Ruben Bain, because that dude has been a monster through a month of the college football season.
Sick. He's sick.
I mean, he's a big dude with a lot of bend. Like that is a guy who, if you put him as your top edge guy, Femi on the other side could end up being a better player because you have that guy, and it makes you feel a whole lot better about what you have in that group. So
absolutely.
I'm not like, again, I hate doing draft talk in September, because the draft is 7 months away and we still have 14 more Titans games to get through. But that dude is putting himself right at the top of draft boards, especially with what we've seen from Clemson's top guys. Haven't looked very good. Parker and Woods, who were supposed to be top 10 picks, and all the quarterbacks have basically flamed out. So anyway, the defense not looking strong for the future as the Titans look to rebuild this roster. I mean, we just went through it. Out of the 53 guys currently on this roster, the only guys we are confident, and confident is being used kind of loosely here, are going to be part of the next core is 7 players. And 4 of them are rookies.
Big yikes.
So 4 of them are rookies where it's less that we've seen enough from them to believe. It's that we haven't seen enough from them not to believe, right? Like Alec Iamaner is the only one who's actually shown that he can play in this league. But like Helm, Oladejo, Winston, we're putting him in there because it's like, hey, you took them that high. You hope that they're going to turn out to be something. Not a great time for the Tennessee Titans. Mike Borgonzi, as he said, when asked if this team could go win the Super Bowl, this roster needs a lot of work.
The laugh, the chuckle was like, that told you everything.
Yes. So there you go. 7. That's who we think might be part of the Titans next core. TD, no, you got to get out of here. Thanks for coming in. And we'll be sure to do this again next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it, man. Looking forward to next week already.
Yes. Next Thursday, make sure you tune in. We'll have TD for the full show, and excited to have him back on. Always great stuff when TD comes on. Coming up next, Andrew Allegretta from Vanderbilt football going to join us for his weekly visit. We'll talk about Vandy's 70-point win against Georgia State, and also get ready for this week's game against Utah State. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Final hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly BI membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Really appreciate Turron Davenport joining us for the first 2 hours of the show. He had to get out of here, but we continue on, and we are joined now on our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by the voice of Vanderbilt football, Andrew Allegretta, for his weekly visit. Andrew, as always, thanks for coming on. What's going on?
What's up, Jake? How are you?
I'm doing great. Excited for this weekend's matchup against Utah State. Back-to-back games at First Bank Stadium for Vanderbilt. That game against Georgia State on Saturday, clearly a chip on the Commodores' shoulders after the game in Atlanta last year, and put up 70 for the first time since 1918. Is that maybe the biggest example of how much more talented this team is than even last year? To see them just pretty much dominate Georgia State up and down the field, even when the backups were in at the very end of the game.
Man, I'll tell you what, Jake, I don't know if it's the biggest. It's definitely a clear example for a program that, at least since I've been here, I've seen games that were close against Hawaii. Of course, the very first game for Clark versus ETSU, the growth of the program is fully on display. I mean, the things that come to my mind certainly is the game versus Georgia State and hanging 70. That's not a small number. And I think the physicality that they showed versus Virginia Tech and South Carolina are pretty clear examples of the way that this program has grown in the past 12 months or so to dominate a couple of Power 4 teams on the road in their building at the line of scrimmage. You know, you could probably point to a lot of different things, but those come to mind certainly first and foremost.
Yeah, you mentioned the dominance of the line of scrimmage. I think that's the biggest difference this year and last year is that offensive line has been phenomenal in front of Diego Pavia and that trio of running backs. And the defensive line, it kind of feels like you can do line changes and still have the same kind of production with how deep that group is. How does that allow the Commodores to, first off, dominate some of these group of 5 teams they're playing, but also compete at the highest levels of the SEC with the teams coming up on the schedule?
You brought up the defensive line, Jake, and one thing, too, is that we don't have Issa Wataha back, a captain, someone that came over from Germany, just physically imposing, and has not played a ton of football in his lifetime. So his skill set is through the roof, and once he gets healthy from a shoulder problem, he's going to be another imposing piece in the middle of that defensive line. It sounds like he played a little bit versus Virginia Tech and kind of aggravated a shoulder injury. So hoping to get him back as soon as possible, whether it's this week or whether it's next, I don't know. And then the other piece, which you brought up, was the fact that they've been able to spread it around offensively. I mean, it's been 4 games, Jake, and they've had 4 different leading rushers. From Pavia last week versus Georgia State, you had Cedric Alexander. You've had M.K. Young, who's ripped off a pair of 60-yard rushes so far this season. And then the walk-on from the Ocean State, Zell Lassiter. Like they've been able to diversify all of that. And the starting point, of course, is the line of scrimmage. And, you know, I know we've talked about it. I just think what resonates with me as much as anything is, you know, you go back to these moments where you're building a team and building a roster, and specifically back in December through the transfer portal. Not that high school is, you got to mix and match everything, man. But when it comes to the transfer portal, they said, we're going to direct our attention to the line of scrimmage. And like, holy cow, if that hasn't paid off.
Andrew, I have to get something off of my chest, and I wanted to ask you about it. I believe the AP poll committee has done Vanderbilt a huge disservice. I don't believe they've actually watched this team play. Coming in at number 18, I don't believe there are 17 better resumes out there right now through 4 weeks than what Vanderbilt has done. And I know the typical coach speak, player speak answer, we don't care about ratings, and they shouldn't. But I wanted to get your answer from a fan's perspective. Why should Vanderbilt be higher in the polls?
Oh, wow. You're going to – it's a leading question, Parker. It's the assumption is that I believe they should be. I think, look, they've obviously had a really good start to the season. And like, I'm not going to sneeze at rankings. Like, that stuff sort of builds upon itself. If Vanderbilt can beat Utah State, it's the second time in program history that they've had multiple wins at home as a ranked AP team. The last one was 1941, and it predated Pearl Harbor. Like in October of 1941. So like let that settle in. I'm not going to sneeze at rankings. I don't know, guys. I think, look, I've worked at a lot of different places and Jake can attest to this, where it's like you're not going to get the respect until you overachieve if you come to the party with some sort of preconceived notion about who you are. So I disagree with the idea that Vanderbilt should come to the party with a preconceived notion of its past, but I don't know, welcome to the world. So whether they're 17 or 18, I think some people in their poll, if you look at the aggregate, like had Vanderbilt up to 9, 10, or 11. I don't know. There's who knows? And the thing is, like, when something happens, there's a slip up in the schedule. If you're a team like Vanderbilt, it's that much harder to climb back in. I don't know. I really don't. I think this team is so hyper mature and so hyper focused on just like, we're a good football team. We're going to go practice and execute our plays. And then on Saturday, we're going to get the job done. That doesn't mean they're going to be perfect and run the table. But I don't know, man. The resume is obviously really strong at 4-0. Statistically, they've played very well. What that equates to in the rankings, I don't know. There's a lot of really talented programs out there. And I'm curious to see how Vanderbilt can continue to produce. And hopefully that translates to some really high rankings and should be some fun matchups moving forward.
And I wanted to go.
Was that elusive enough for you?
No, that was great. I just think Vanderbilt doesn't get the benefit of the doubt because they decided to wake up in Nashville instead of, let's say, Austin or Tuscaloosa. But now that is out of the way, I wanted to address the offense and kind of go back to the offensive conversation we were having. 8 rushing touchdowns on Saturday versus Georgia Tech. Vanderbilt has scored 30 or more points in their first 4 games. First time since 1916. What is clicking so well for this offense right now?
Experience obviously is way up there, and comfort with the system. Diego Pavia is the obvious first place to start. You've got yourself a second-year quarterback here. You've got someone that's been in Jerry Kill and Tim Beck's system for multiple seasons. It's almost like a pitcher that only tops out at 91, but darn if that guy hasn't seen a lot of batters and learned how to pitch. And he knows how to, work the corners, go up and down in the zone and change speeds. I'm not saying that Vanderbilt's offense doesn't have skill. They certainly do. It's just when you play a lot of football together and you've got comfort with the system, it allows you to be way, way more intricate. And give a lot of credit to Tim Beck. Man, oh man, if he's not just deeply talented as a play caller. I talked to him earlier this week and asked him, hey, when did you feel comfortable as a play caller in the course of your career? And he just deferred right back to the players, which, he's so humble and grounded too. And it is true that this offense has way more diversity of talent, not just talent, but diversity of talent. Like they can spread to east and west with speed. They can get vertical on you. They don't have a 6'4" receiver that's going to outjump you, but they do have Eli Stowers that can get vertical down the field with some height and all of that sort of stuff. And they've got, just a bowling ball and a bulldog of a running back, Cedric Alexander, and a breakaway home run hitter, and MK Young. I think when you kind of add up the experience of the offense, the skill of the offensive line, the talent of the play caller, and just kind of the confidence of Diego Pavia, you can hang 70, but that doesn't, past results aren't predictive of, future endeavors, but so far so good.
Talking with Andrew Allegretta, voice of Vanderbilt football. Commodores hosting Utah State on Saturday. Andrew, we had Corey Curtis on yesterday, and he brought up a stat, and I didn't realize how lopsided these games have become in the second half. But Vandy, I believe he said outscoring opponents 96-15 in the second half, and that includes the late garbage time touchdown from Georgia State on Saturday. What have you seen from this team that allows them to kind of just lean on these teams late and impose their will once you get into the third and fourth quarter?
Yeah, and that 7 seconds to go field goal from Charleston Southern, which I promise you everybody in that building wanted to shut out. So the fact that was taken away with 3 seconds to go, you've got to stop them. I get it. But what was the score? 45-0 with 7 seconds?
Yes, 45-0.
Field goal through? Yeah. Two things, and I'm going to get boring, but the line of scrimmage certainly is a major part. You've got a really deep line of scrimmage and talented line of scrimmage. And look, I get it. they faced one SEC opponent so far. It was South Carolina. They were able to lean on South Carolina and kind of break them emotionally toward the second half of that game. And we'll see what happens this weekend. And once you go to Tuscaloosa and you've got to face LSU and all of that, I get all of that. But so far, the offense and defensive line have been, again, just they deserve a ton of credit because you break people in the second half because of your ability to physically wear them down. And that starts at the line of scrimmage. And the second part is, I think, just the overall confidence and moxie of this group. They just, Vandy went for a fourth down to start off the third quarter versus Georgia State, and they didn't get it. And I think we kind of talked in the booth off the air, Jake, like why would they're up whatever it is, why would they go for it on fourth? I think the answer is just domination.
Yep.
Like this team desires to dominate people. So if you've got the psychology and you've got the physical grit up front, it's certainly a good recipe so far.
I'll end with the obvious one, Andrew. Everyone wants to talk about a letdown game when it comes to these games with a ranked team facing a group of 5 team like Utah State this weekend. And last week, I think it was easy to look at the motivation for Vanderbilt after the game in Atlanta last year. But this week, you can catch yourself looking ahead to Alabama a little bit. How does this team make sure to stay in the moment and get a win before heading to Tuscaloosa?
Well, I think they're going to stay in the moment because they have stayed in the moment. I asked Coach Lee about that on Commodore Hour, which you can hear every Monday night at 6 p.m. either on 102.5 The Game or 94.9 The Fan. And then Clark answered it at the press conference. It's just, again, a group that is so grounded in the moment. The other part of this, guys, is like there is a lot of comfort and connection in this matchup, which you wouldn't expect in a first-time Vanderbilt versus Utah State sort of matchup. I mean, Bronco Mendenhall is a guy that Coach Lee has a ton of respect for, the head coach at Utah State. Their defensive coordinator is Nick Howell, who was at Vanderbilt for a couple of seasons, left after the 2023 season. And then the other piece of it, I'm not saying that Clark and Mike Elko at Texas A&M have talked. I've got no earthly idea. But Utah State played Texas A&M, and Clark and Mike Elko are pretty close. They worked on the Bowling Green staff in 2012 together with Dave Clawson. And I think we're on the Notre Dame staff together as well. Whether or not they've talked, I don't know. But, Clark is going to pay attention to what Mike's up to. So, he's got some awareness of what Utah State was doing versus Texas A&M. And, the emotional piece, I don't know. You've got to go talk to those guys about it. I just see it from a lens of an awareness of the matchups and how you're going to scheme and how you're going to get ready and how you're going to put yourself in the right position because of, your comfort with Bronco and Nick Howell and Mike Elko and these previous matchups. And you would think some of the athletic advantages that Vandy brings to the table this week. We'll see what happens on Saturday, but I'm not overly concerned with like, oh my goodness, what a ridiculous trap game this has become versus Utah State. Utah State might win, but I think if they win, it's because they go out and beat Vanderbilt, not because Vanderbilt's in la la land.
Andrew, always appreciate the time. You can listen to Andrew, Kevin, Norm, the whole crew coming up on Saturday, 10 a.m. pregame, 11:45 kick against Utah State. Andrew, thanks for your time. I'll see you on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Later, Jake.
Andrew Allegretta, voice of Vanderbilt football. Commodores looking to get to 5-0 before heading to Tuscaloosa next week. Again, 10 a.m. pregame, 11:45 kick against Utah State. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday. We'll react to what Andrew had to say, talk some more Vandy football after this here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Final hour of the show was great talking with Andrew Allegretta, the voice of Vanderbilt football, ahead of the 18th ranked 4-0 Commodores hosting Utah State on Saturday. Parker, I'm not worried about this weekend. Commodores are a 22-point favorite, I want to say. This is a game they should win. And I do think that even if there is a little bit of a letdown early, like Utah State comes out with some juice, punches them in the mouth, like we've seen Vandy respond on the road at Virginia Tech after trailing by 10 at the half. So this is something they've done before, but it always is just tough when you look at the trap games. This one has it written all over it of, hey, you've gotten off to a good start. You've won 4 straight games, all by blowouts. And you've got maybe your biggest game of the season coming up in a week, ahead of a bye week, by the way, before that. So it's like you're also getting to a week off, and you've got this Utah State team coming in. I'm not worried about it, but it does have all of the makings of your classic trap game.
I think for an emotionally immature team, this is absolutely a look-ahead spot. But for this Vanderbilt team, just based on what Andrew said, they're taking it one game at a time. They are mature. They've been playing college football for some 4 or 5, if you're Diego Pavia, 19 years. So they're experienced, and they're not going to look past Utah State because they looked past Georgia State last year and got beat. I don't think they're going to make that same mistake this year, especially heading into Alabama week. You want to be 5-0.
No, I agree. I think this is a team that Clark Lee and Jerry Kill, who we talked a bunch about Jerry Kill with Corey Curtis yesterday. I think those guys are going to make sure this team is ready to play. And even if there is a little bit of a mental, I don't want to say lapse, but letdown, I guess, of like maybe they're not. It is another factor to it is they've played all night games so far. This game is kicking off before noon. So that's part of it too, of having to get up and immediately get ready for the game. Even if there is a little bit of that, Andrew was talking a ton about the line of scrimmage, and that is where Vandy has improved the most. And that's why any of these people out there outside of Nashville who are talking about how, oh, Vandy's going to go into Tuscaloosa and get crushed. I understand Vandy doesn't have 5-star blue chip guys on the offensive and defensive line. But if you watch the line of scrimmage with Vandy on both sides of the ball, they are winning, and they are winning big. And that's against Charleston Southern and Georgia State, but also against Virginia Tech and South Carolina. I'm not saying they're going to go out and dominate Alabama, but this may be the first time in a while where you can look at the lines and say, like, yeah, they got a puncher's chance with an Alabama and a Texas and LSU who do have those 5-star blue chip guys up front.
I think it speaks to the job of this coaching staff and what they've done with the talent that they brought in. I'm not one that believes that recruiting rankings don't matter, because they do, but Vanderbilt, like you said, is not going and they're not on the same stage when it comes to recruiting like Alabama, like Georgia. They're getting guys out of the portal. They're bringing in 3 stars from high school, but they're getting the most out of it. And that's the way that you win in the SEC, is through the trenches. And I've said several times, this Vanderbilt, it doesn't matter if it's the offensive, defensive line. It doesn't look like a typical Vandy offensive or defensive line. It looks like a legit trench battle that you would see in the SEC. So I'm excited. I think Vanderbilt is going to be 5-0 heading into Alabama, and they definitely have a puncher's chance.
You look at this Utah State team, it's a team that can score. They won 28-16 against UTEP. They did put up 22 points on Texas A&M in their last 2 weeks against Air Force and, McNeese, who's an FCS school. They put up 49 and 48. So this isn't, again, it's not Georgia State. Utah State is a better team than Georgia State, and this is an opportunity for Utah State to come in and get a signature victory ahead of the bulk of their Mountain West play. So they're going to come in ready to go, but I think what Andrew said is very astute about this offensive line, this defensive line, and what Clark Lee and this coaching staff are preaching to their team. I think they're going to be ready to play. I think Vandy will be 5-0, and man, what a week next week is going to be with all of the, not just a undefeated ranked Vanderbilt team going into Alabama, but everything around last year's game. And if Alabama loses to Georgia on Saturday, which we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but I think probably going to happen, Kalen DeBoer's coaching for his job. I think game day might be in Tuscaloosa next week. I know there's other good options out there, but it feels like one of those games where the storylines are too big not to be the center of the college football universe next weekend.
The script writes itself. And I just want to make one more comment on this Utah State team. That loss at Texas A&M in week 2, the score looks a lot prettier than it actually was. I had that game on, and Utah State gave them all they could handle. Texas A&M pulled away late. That's why the score looks the way that it does. And they have a quarterback, Bryson Barnes, who is a transfer from Utah, where he was Cam Rising's backup when Cam Rising went down. That was Utah's starting quarterback, and he can run, he can throw. So he's going to provide challenges for Vanderbilt. I think they're going to win. And yeah, going back to your comment about Alabama, the script writes itself. Game day could absolutely be there.
I think they're going to go to Miami, Florida State. Usually game day kind of tells on itself, or ESPN tells on itself when they announce what the 6:30 game on ABC is. They do mix it up sometimes. It's not always the same game, but Miami, Florida State, that's a top 10 matchup. That is in Tallahassee. So it wouldn't be like they're going to Miami 2 out of 3 weeks. That's probably where it ends up. But there's a chance. There's a chance. And obviously, if Vandy beats Alabama and is 6-0 with LSU coming to town, I think it's a shoo-in that game day comes to Nashville for the first time since 2008. Keep an eye on Florida State, though. I hate to say this, but it's a pesky Virginia team that they're facing tomorrow night on ESPN.
You're giving Virginia a compliment? I don't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah, can we dump that?
Yeah, we'll dump it.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. On the text line, 5956 asks, can the Vanderbilt line suit up for the Titans on Sundays? I mean, I am always going to remind people that pros are pros and college players are college players for a reason. But yeah, the line play has been better at Vanderbilt relatively than it has been for the Titans. Justin from Greenbrier asked, could we be seeing a perfect storm type of situation where Vandy has the depth, experience, talent, and moxie to make a serious push for a championship this season? Championship, I think, is a stretch. Like, if Vandy was going to win a championship, odds are they're going to have to beat 4 of the best teams in college football back to back to back to back. Like, that's it. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. This is only year 2 for the new era of Vanderbilt football, but for sure they could make a push to make the playoffs. Like,
yeah, I mean, we the Bahamas Bowl. I mean, one of those bowl games absolutely is in the deck of cards for Vanderbilt. National championship.
No,
now if this Vanderbilt team makes the college football playoff, that is a ginormous win for this program.
That has to be the goal, and it's like I don't want to set ceilings on anybody, but like every year in college football, yes, the college football playoff being 12 teams gives a lot more teams a chance to make the playoff. But realistically, heading into every season, there's 10 teams that can actually win a national championship. Like it, and as good as Vandy's been, that it's just not going to be easy for them to win if they get to the playoffs. But getting there is a path. And it starts getting a win this weekend, and then you go to Tuscaloosa. Going to be a fun one next week. We'll talk plenty about that game as we approach it coming up next week. Coming up next, we'll get back into the Titans to wrap up the show. A couple of injury updates from yesterday. We'll get into them next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Is this the Titans song?
It is.
It's better than Ring of Fire.
It is better than Ring of Fire, but not by much.
Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday. Big thanks to Turron Davenport for joining us for the first 2 hours of the program. He's on every Thursday. Next week, he'll be on for the full show. Getting back into the Titans here. Injury report came out for yesterday, and do want to make it clear the Titans conducted a walkthrough on Wednesday. So it's not a full practice. They say it's an estimation. Couple of things here. Good to see Kevin Zeitler would have been limited. So hopefully the Titans are at least getting one of their starting offensive linemen back. But now J.C. Latham did not practice again. He has not practiced since before the Broncos game. And I know they didn't put him on IR, and I heard Paul Kaharski say, like, it's not a big deal. He can miss more than 4 games. And unless you have 7 guys who wouldn't be inactive that you're wasting a spot on for J.C. Latham, then it doesn't matter. So I understand that, but you're starting to get to the point where he's going to miss a month, and I just don't know how long this offensive line can hold up without him, if they've been holding up at all. And guess what? Cam Ward finds himself on the injury report for the first time with an ankle calf. I'm not worried about it. Cam Ward's going to play on Sunday, but the fact that the offensive line hasn't been good clearly has already banged Cam Ward up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about this Cam Ward injury either. I think it's just typical procedural stuff, just being cautionary in practice. But this offensive line with J.C. Latham not practicing again, that's not good. Kevin Zeitler, at least he's limited, but we'll see if he's out there on Sunday. Let me tell you what really kind of bugs me a little bit is Bryce Oliver. He hasn't practiced the last couple of weeks, but I'm just curious to why, when he has been available, why he hasn't been out there more, getting more opportunities, if he's done everything that's been asked of him in practice. Yeah,
we were talking about with Corey yesterday. I'd like to see Bryce Oliver be the next guy after your starters as wide receiver. Like, I don't need to see a ton of Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson. I know Lockett plays the slot, so it's a little bit different, but like, I'd love to see as much of Iamaner, DK, Oliver as we can. And I know Ridley's going to be out there, and Brian Callahan talked about, reminding Calvin Ridley who he is, and you're a national champion who's been successful in the NFL. He got off to a slow start last year too. We'll see. Maybe this is the week he starts to pick things up, but I agree with you. I'd like to see more of Bryce Oliver. Kevin Winston didn't sound like he's going to play this week, but he is limited according to yesterday's practice reports. So I can't wait to see him on the field. TD and I last hour were going through the guys who we feel like can be a part of the next core for this team, and we felt like Winston was one of them, despite him not having played a snap in the NFL yet. I'd like for that to change somewhat soon, but obviously coming back from the severe knee injury, you don't want to rush him back when you do have the depth to deal with missing Kevin Winston at the safety spot right now.
Yeah, no, I think he'll absolutely. And if he wasn't hurt his senior year at Penn State, like, he would have been a first-round pick. I see him when he's healthy, when he's back with the Titans, he's absolutely going to be a contributor. I think he'll be part of the core as well. Very excited that he was at least limited. I think TD was saying he was practicing off on a separate field at practice yesterday. So that's a good sign. I doubt he'll play on Sunday, but the quicker you can get him back, that's encouraging for the fans.
And also good to hear from TD. He was talking about Tajay Spears, saying that he was starting to work his way back up. And TD, no inside info here from TD, but he did say if he had to guess, Spears would be back next week. And it's important because Tony Pollard can only take 99% of the carries for so long. You'd like to have Spears back in the fold as a change of pace guy for the Titans. Also, did want to mention TD's comments on T'Vondre Sweat. Very interesting to me. Sweat just went on IR, and outside of the Broncos game where he played about 40% of the snaps, that's all we've seen from T'Vondre Sweat this year. And TD was saying, like, things are not trending in the right direction for T'Vondre Sweat in terms of, like, this year and how long he'll actually be with this team. And it's not good for the Titans. When you spent the 37th pick on this guy, he's got to be a part of this team for a long time. And so far, year 2 has just really, really gotten off to a bad start.
when he got put on IR, it kind of hit me out of nowhere because I knew he was hurt. I knew it was going to take him a while to get back. But then I got an email from the Titans PR people that he has been put on injured reserve, right. And it just kind of threw me for a whirl. Like I wasn't expecting it. So that's not good.
It was shocking when, he comes out last week and says, I'll be out there on Sunday. And I know they're saying he re-injured his ankle, which it happens, but man, it's been a rough start to the second year for T'Vondre Sweat. When Latham and Sweat, you were hoping those guys were going to step up and become Pro Bowl level players for you this year. Like that is the expectation with how high those guys were drafted. And so far we've seen about one full game of football between the two of them through the first 3 weeks, and likely not going to see either of them on Sunday. Obviously not Sweat. He's on IR. Latham, we'll see today, but if he didn't practice yesterday and they put him in there as a DNP for the walkthrough, I'd make the guess that he's probably not going to play on Sunday.
And with the way Sweat played week 1 in Denver, it kind of left the fan craving more and wanting to see him more. And now you don't get that. With Latham, it was more so collectively how the offensive line looked in week 1 that just wants you wanting more. And now that he's out, Zeitler's been dealing with a bicep, been a turnstile at right tackle. It's not good.
Yeah. Sweat, I'm more worried about the long term, especially with what TD said earlier. Latham, I'm worried about the short term of can you keep Cam Ward alive back there for a couple more weeks while Latham is working his way back? You're at 15 sacks through the first 3 games. That is not good. It leads the league. The good news is, if you want to be an optimist, it's gone 6 sacks, 5 sacks, 4 sacks. If it keeps going down, we're going to be at 0 before you know it.
Look at that.
If there's 3 sacks on Sunday, we know it's trending in the right direction. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Last call for phones here on this Thursday. We'll wrap up the show coming up next. We'll get into Thursday night football. An intriguing one tonight that maybe before the season you're looking at and you're saying, man, this is really one of those primetime games that we're getting. But with the way these teams have started, it's actually looking pretty exciting. Seahawks Cardinals tonight. We'll preview it coming up next and wrap up the show. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final segment on this Thursday. Chase and Big Joe coming up right after us here on 102.5 The Game. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Clay has called in. Clay, thanks for calling. What you got this morning?
Hey, Jake, maybe I'll become a regular caller here.
I love it.
Is Parker is on the mic too?
Yes.
Hey, Parker, I know a different show, but you're involved with George, and I called George's show. I've known George since 1977 at BGA. But anyway, I just wanted to say, I was glad you're on with George. So,
I appreciate that. Thank you, Clay.
Sure. You guys, I heard you guys talking about Vanderbilt obviously earlier, and guys, the amazing thing to me, and it's been said for years now, SEC games are won at the line of scrimmage, offensive and defensive line. And that's the amazing thing to me is I've been a Vanderbilt fan since the 60s probably. And, over the years, you'd see Vandy play teams in the SEC off their feet in the first half, and then teams start subbing, and the depth, that's where it would get them. If I heard this correctly, I think we rotated 12 guys in the defensive line in Columbia, South Carolina. I've just never seen a Vanderbilt team, with this kind of strength, this kind of depth in both lines of scrimmage. And, you could say if we're lucky enough to win Saturday, and that's not going to be an easy game because I think Utah State is pretty good. Now it's all SEC games, and I don't know how many games this team will win, but like I said yesterday, I know they're going to compete, and I know the rest of the SEC is in for a fight against the Vanderbilt Commodores, and it's just a joy, to be a good, to be such a good fan that I am of Vanderbilt, but, to be proud that we have a good football team. We have a terrific coach. We have a great quarterback, and between those two, I mean, they've got these guys believing that they can play with anybody. Don't y'all agree?
Right, for sure, Clay. And I think Pavia and Lee obviously laid the foundation last year and allowed you to play with a lot of those teams. But you're right, the line of scrimmage is where a lot of these SEC games are played and won. And now you got the talent, and most importantly, you have the depth to compete at the highest level. And that could be the great equalizer that allows Vandy to compete with Alabama, LSU, Texas, and whoever's across on the other side.
What do you guys think about, I think with Pavia leaving, and I think a lot of the offensive line is maybe going to be leaving too, from what I've heard. But do you think that Clark, he might have to put a real sales job on Jerry Kill and Tim Beck to get them to stay? Do y'all think that'll be an issue? Do y'all see them staying?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Clay. I appreciate the thoughts here. That is the big question with Vanderbilt, right? Is once Pavia is gone and you do lose some of the talent up front, like, can they sustain this growth? And you have to find the quarterback who can you're not going to find Diego Pavia just walking out on the street. Like, you're going to have to go find somebody else who can play at a similar level. But I don't think it's easy to say, like, yeah, once Pavia leaves, the program's going to just drop off a cliff. Like, they have made Vanderbilt football a brand again. And it's like, people want to come play for Vanderbilt. Look at the men's basketball team. Mark Byington just got a top 50 recruit out of the DMV area, and they have the third ranked recruiting class in men's basketball this year. I'm not saying that obviously translates over to football, but like, coming to Vanderbilt is starting to become an easy sale of like, hey, we're competitive at the highest level of all these sports. You can get an elite degree and you get to live in Nashville, Tennessee. And I think that's starting to resonate with a lot of these kids.
And, I mean, Vanderbilt fans knew that they weren't going to have Diego Pavia forever. I mean, maybe if he kept filing all these lawsuits, maybe he might come back. We'll see. I don't know. It's not going to happen. I'm just kidding.
He said he's not.
Yeah, he said he's not, so we got to take him at his word. But I think Diego Pavia made Vanderbilt a destination. And I think people are going to want to come to Vanderbilt because Diego Pavia and Clark Lee, they proved that you can win at Vanderbilt. You can have success when 3-4 years ago, even people inside that own program thought that was not possible, what they were capable of doing. So I think with the way Nashville is booming now and the way Vanderbilt is having success across all programs, not just football, I think Vanderbilt is a destination now because of what Diego Pavia has done.
Yeah, appreciate the call from Clay. Those were all good points. Vandy again at home on Saturday, 11:45 kick, 10 a.m. pregame right here on 102.5 The Game. Quickly before we get out of here, Thursday night football tonight, Seahawks, Cardinals, NFC West battle. Are they wearing the rivalry uniforms for these ones? I think they are, right?
I think so. I think this was the game they were supposed to.
Yes. So I think we're getting our first look at these NFL rivalry uniforms. And again, the Titans are getting some of these next year to wear for, I think it's just one game next year in a divisional matchup. So we'll get a first look at those. Both these teams are 2-1. You got Kyler Murray. You got Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, according to, I think it's like ESPN and PFF, has been the best quarterback or the most efficient quarterback in football so far this year. So we'll see.
JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
One of the best wide receivers in the league coming up. And again, I will always be disappointed the Titans didn't draft him. I've wanted him for years, and I like Peter Skoronski. I really do. But man, what could this offense look like with Jackson Smith and Jigba out there? Also wanted to mention, so the Titans play the Cardinals next week. Cardinals are at home tonight. This game is in Arizona. They're at home next week against the Titans, and they get the mini bye. This is going to be a rested Arizona Cardinals team waiting for the Titans to come in for their second game of a 3-game road trip. Rest isn't everything, but that doesn't really spell any kind of advantage for the Titans coming up next week against Arizona.
No, and the way Arizona's been playing, I think Kyler Murray, I'm turning into Nick Frazier, but I think Kyler Murray is a lot better than people give him credit for. I think the way they utilize their tight ends has been very beneficial. The run game, James Conner is out for the year, but they have Trey Benson, who I believe is very, very talented. We'll see how much he's able to contribute in terms of what he was able to do, what James Conner was able to do. But I think the Cardinals are pretty good.
You and Dr. Crane back there, Kyler Murray truthers. I like Kyler Murray. I think he's a guy who he makes a lot of highlight plays, but he's just not consistent enough to win games for you. You hope that Cam Ward doesn't turn out to be that, right? Like you see the flashes, but it just doesn't lead to winning. I think the difference between Cam Ward and Kyler Murray is Cam Ward clearly cares about improving, and he's in the building as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, that is the knock.
Yeah, Kyler Murray had to have it written into his contract how long he has to watch film.
Which is crazy. Crazy.
I will never get over that. Like, it was a big story for a week. We forget that way too often, that they signed this guy to a $250 million extension or whatever and had to write into the contract like, hey, you have to be on your iPad watching film for 10 hours a week or whatever it is.
You wouldn't have to do that for a guy like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. I will say I'm not in love with Kyler Murray like Nick Frazier is. I like him. I think he's good, but I think he could potentially knock on the door of being a great quarterback, but there's still some things that have to play out.
For those who don't understand the Nick Frazier, Kyler Murray jokes, we did like a fantasy type draft a year and a half ago on the Saturday show. And with his choice of like every quarterback except for Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, Nick Frazier took Kyler Murray.
Give me Kyler Murray, baby.
I want Kyler. So there you go.
But the Cincinnati Bengals going 15-2.
Yes.
Did he say that they were going to go 15-2 without Joe Burrow?
No. That was before the Burrow injury. So I think he gets a pass on that one.
Okay.
He got lucky.
But the Vikings would go 4-13. So according to Nick Frazier,
even with their blowout win over those Bengals last week, I don't think Nick Frazier saw that one coming. Seahawks Cardinals tonight, going to be a fun one. I'll be tuning in. I think the Seahawks might pull this one out if I had to pick one.
Yeah. Oh, that is tough. They're very evenly matched, I feel like.
Right. I think it should be a good game. Crazy to think one of those teams is going to be 3-1.
Yeah. I'm just going to take the other side just because. I'll go Cardinals.
There you go. Big thanks to Turron Davenport for joining us for the first 2 hours of the show, and Andrew Allegretta for making his weekly visit. Tomorrow, Parker and I are going to get you ready for a big weekend of football, Titans talk, college football talk, and much more. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. You're on 102.5 The Game.